Texas is known for its independence, resilience, and strong communities. But flooding has consistently challenged our state, affecting families, businesses, and entire regions. From the Panhandle to the Gulf Coast, flooding continues to be one of Texas's most persistent natural hazards, disrupting lives, slowing economic growth, and straining local resources for years. But Texans don't just endure challenges, we solve them. In 2017, Hurricane Harvey caused devastating floods across the state and $125 billion in damages, becoming the second most expensive natural disaster in U.S. history. The Texas legislature responded in 2019 by passing Senate Bill 8, directing the Texas Water Development Board, or TWDB, to create Texas's first comprehensive regional and statewide flood planning process. Recent flooding in the Hill Country is just one example of why this kind of proactive planning is so crucial. As part of this effort, communities can identify their local challenges and priorities, providing valuable input to help the legislature make informed decisions. This landmark legislation established a systematic approach to reducing flood risks and developing solutions that will improve the well-being of Texans. Texas is organized into 15 regional flood planning groups, or RFPGs, each corresponding to the watershed of a major river. Each group brings together local stakeholders from across government, business, and the public. Their mission is clear: identify flood risks and develop solutions that protect Texas communities against the loss of life and property due to flooding and prepare them for future challenges. Regional flood planning happens on a 5-year cycle. Every 5 years, RFPGs update their plans to reflect new flood data, community growth, and lessons learned from past events. These regional plans are then combined by TWDB into the comprehensive Texas State Flood Plan, ensuring the entire state has a roadmap to reduce flood risks over time. Regional flood planning groups coordinate with communities to identify flood mitigation and management needs throughout their region. These needs are classified into one of 3 categories. Flood management evaluations, or FMEs, include comprehensive studies that analyze flooding problems and identify potential solutions that provide the foundation for effective flood management. Flood mitigation projects, or FMPs, include physical infrastructure improvements that directly reduce flood risk. Flood management strategies, or FMSs, include policy measures and non-structural approaches that enhance flood protection. Together, these solutions, collectively called FMXs, provide a comprehensive approach to flood risk reduction that addresses both immediate needs and long-term resilience. The cost of flood mitigation presents a significant challenge for communities. Design and construction of comprehensive flood mitigation measures often require greater investments than what most communities can afford alone. To address this, the TWDB manages multiple funding programs designed to help communities protect themselves, including the Flood Infrastructure Fund, or FIF, and coordinates with federal partners like FEMA and the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD, to maximize available resources. Understanding the funding pathway is crucial for every community leader. State funding requires specific eligibility criteria. To qualify for state funding through the TWDB, your study must be included in the regional and state flood plans. This requirement ensures that taxpayer dollars support projects that are part of a coordinated, evidence-based strategy rather than isolated efforts not aligned with regional priorities. The regional planning process serves as your community's pathway to future funding opportunities. Without participating in this process, your community will not be able to access critical state funding assistance. With proper inclusion in the plans, your project becomes eligible for the financial support that can transform concepts into real solutions. This funding connection makes participating in your regional flood planning group not just beneficial, but essential for any community committed to long-term preparedness. To see how this planning process works in practice, let's look at one example from a regional flood planning group. The San Jacinto Regional Flood Planning Group, or Region 6, covers portions of 11 counties across one of the most hydrologically complex and rapidly growing areas in Texas. More than 6 million Texans live within the San Jacinto River Basin. From dense urban centers in Harris County to fast-growing suburban communities in Montgomery and Liberty counties, forested headwaters to the north, and coastal lowlands that drain toward the Houston Ship Channel. When Region 6 began its first planning cycle, the group faced a challenging task. The region had never before completed a unified, watershed-wide assessment of flood risk across the entire basin. Flooding in this area doesn't respect jurisdictional boundaries. Upstream, mid-basin, and downstream communities are closely interconnected. Stormwater runoff in the region's forested headwaters can quickly impact populated areas along the east and west forks of the San Jacinto River, Lake Houston, and neighborhoods throughout the Houston metropolitan area. One of Region 6's early achievements was creating its first comprehensive regional picture of flood risk. The group combined hundreds of existing studies, hydrologic and hydraulic models, FEMA maps, and county-level assessments from partners like the Harris County Flood Control District, the San Jacinto River Authority, and multiple counties and cities. By weaving all this information together, Region 6 identified data gaps and built a clearer, more cohesive understanding of how flooding behaves across the entire watershed. Public engagement played a central role. The planning group hosted public meetings, conducted surveys, met with local elected officials and community leaders, and offered online tools so residents from across the basin could participate, even if they couldn't attend in person. These conversations helped the group understand how historical floods, like the 2015 Memorial Day flood, 2016 Tax Day flood, and Hurricane Harvey, continue to affect communities today. The results of the first planning cycle were significant. Region 6 recommended hundreds of flood management actions, including major watershed studies, channel and conveyance improvements, detention and reservoir-related concepts, buyout programs, and policy-based strategies such as improved mapping and floodplain management standards. These recommendations represented billions of dollars in potential flood risk reduction and laid the groundwork for long-term resilience across the basin. But planning doesn't stop after one cycle. As Region 6 moves into its second planning cycle, the group is building on that foundation and addressing new and evolving challenges. Many parts of the basin still lack modern flood mapping or have outdated modeling. Rapid population growth in Harris, Montgomery, and Liberty counties continues to change the drainage patterns, requiring updated analysis and infrastructure. Subsurface changes such as subsidence, along with coastal concerns like storm surge, introduce additional layers of complexity. Sedimentation in the east and west forks of the San Jacinto River also affects flow capacity and Lake Houston operations. To respond to these needs, Region 6 is advancing new watershed studies, refining project concepts, and shaping feasible, construction-ready mitigation solutions. Through the region's second amendment, more than 100 new or modified flood management actions were added to the plan, bringing the region's total recommendations to over 645 FMEs, FMPs, and FMSs. Together, these have the potential to reduce flood exposure for more than 570,000 people, representing a substantial reduction in regional flood risk. These efforts are supported by strong partnerships across the region, counties, cities, drainage districts, river authorities, and community organizations all working together. Region 6 has demonstrated that coordinated planning and collaboration across jurisdictions lead to meaningful, effective solutions. If you live or work anywhere in the San Jacinto region, your voice matters in this process. The planning group actively seeks input from residents, business owners, and local officials who understand the unique flooding challenges their communities face. Regional flood planning provides the framework for this effort, but it depends on local participation and support. Take action today. Join your regional flood planning group meetings and activities. Stay informed about flood planning in your area. Share your knowledge and experience with planners and neighbors. Together, we can develop comprehensive flood protection strategies that safeguard Texas communities for generations to come. Visit the TWDB Regional Flood Planning Hub or your specific RFPGs website to learn more and get involved. Your community's flood safety depends on your participation.